and Philip Siracusa. Sponsored by Carnation. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM in New Orleans. This show's entrance has been edited, produced, and directed by Gwen Clapper from Perfect Trust Productions, LLC. You can find us at perfecttrustproductions.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night's segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Phil Siracusa. We're broadcasting live from the International Public Radio and the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's show is fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. You'll have to do a few things in order to participate. Go over to our YouTube channel, UFO Paranormal Radio or International Public Radio. You can also go into all of the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, Twitch, SoundCloud, Podbeam. You can also go to our group on Facebook too and get in. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask. Tonight, guys, we have an amazing guest. So please welcome Mike Delcoro to the show. He is a tech specialist, investigator, case manager with the Party Paranormal Research Team. He's also the creator of the Delco experiment and co-host of the team's live radio show with host Eric Vanderlaan on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Mike can be found helping people that are having paranormal problems and help running public ghost hunting events to help spread awareness and raise money for many historical societies along the Florida coast. He's been featured in numerous paranormal magazines, podcasts, and local TV spots. Party Paranormal Research Team is a group of amazing people, and each member has a unique skill. So please let's welcome Mike to the show.
Welcome.
Hey, how we doing, guys? Happy to be here.
Thank
Great,
you.
awesome. Thanks for coming on tonight. So just for our listener out here, we see that you have your own show too, which is awesome. Just tell people how you got started. Like, let's rewind the clock a little bit. How you got involved with the world of paranormal.
Yeah, sure. I would say just kind of like a lot of people that are in the field, like I had some stuff go on when I was a kid. I didn't really understand it. Wasn't sure, later on in life, I kind of looked back at it and I was like, man, was I dreaming or was I making stuff up, or I don't know, or was this really going on? And then I always had a interest for all things paranormal, weird conspiracy theories, UFOs, different things like that. Anything to get your mind and your wheels turning, always intrigued me, and I was always very interested in it. And then I would say approximately about, I don't know the dates exactly, but approximately about like 8 years ago, a buddy of mine, we were kind of hanging out, his wife, me, and one of his wife's friends. And she kind of starts talking about like, hey, I think my apartment is haunted. And I'm like, really? So we were kind of talking. She was telling me about the things that were going on. And I've messed around with little stuff, here and there. And I had like an EMF meter, and I had a recorder. And I said, do you mind if we went over there one night and checked it out? And she's like, no, absolutely, please. She's like, actually, I'm going out of town. And my buddy's wife was watching, dog sitting for her. So she's like, you guys can go over there when I'm not home and nobody's there and check it out. So that's what we did. And it's still to this day, probably one of the craziest investigations. And it was probably I would say my first real investigation, as far as that goes. And it still blows my mind to this day. It was just in a little apartment, nothing crazy, down the street from my house. And we went over there to kind of check it out and do a little investigating. And I don't want to get, too involved because I'm sure you have some other questions for me, but I'll just give you like a brief little cliff notes on it. And so we went to the house. There was nobody home. The dog was there. It's a little dog. And as soon as we walk in, I hear water running. And I'm like, what's that? And I walked to the bathroom. And the door was shut and closed. And I hear water running. Obviously, I kind of knock on it. I'm like, hello, anybody here? I open the door, and, she lived alone. So all her product, was on the counter in the bathroom there. And it was all pushed into the sink. Everything. Not one thing was left on the countertop. Deodorant and shampoo and just different lotions, and everything was in the sink with the faucet turned on.
Wow.
And both faucets, the hot and the cold, were fully open. And nobody had a key but my buddy's wife, and she was there the day before to walk the dog. Yeah, very strange. We ended up capturing EVP. Her bedroom door was locked from the inside. There was so much stuff, like it was so crazy. And then we walked outside to smoke a cigarette and kind of collaborate and talk about what was going on. And when we walked back in, the dog was on top of the counter in the kitchen. And that dog had legs that were about 3 inches long. There is no way that's
so that's okay. So then that's
man.
impossible to happen.
Absolutely impossible. And
Wow.
yeah, and we did have intelligent responses via EMF. And then we never did get to go back because she moved. It was a rental. And yeah, so ever since that, I was,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's an eye opener right there. Give me an intelligent response that you heard.
So, I set intelligent response on via EMF meter. We took the coffee table, just a glass coffee table, with a metal framing. And we swept everything off it, cleaned it completely off, and pushed it out and set the meter. It was like one of those older, the real inexpensive EMF readers that says like ELF or whatever, it was like before the K2.
Yeah.
And I had that sitting on the coffee table. And we were sitting back on the couch. Like we were a good 3 feet away from it. No phones, no nothing. And we're like, obviously asking questions like, hello, is there anybody here with us? If you're here, can you trigger this device? Nothing. And I was like, all right, well, obviously there's something going on here and we know you're here. So if you can come over to this device, it'll light up. And it spiked to red. And obviously the first time, we're like, all right, maybe that was a coincidence. Something was going on. I don't know. If that was you, can you light it up to green? And then we actually did hear a disembodied voice earlier when we went into her bedroom. Was locked from the inside. I mean, it is possible somebody could turn the lock on the inside and shut the door.
Yeah.
But why? Why would you do that if you were going out of town and you had, what I mean? So we called her and we asked, we said, did you by any chance lock the door? She's like, no, how would I get in? Not knowing that little pinhole in the front, So I'm like, do you care if I unlock it? She's like, yeah, I don't care, whatever. I said, I just want to check it because it's weird that it was locked. So, I grabbed something out of the kitchen and I put it in the little hole and popped the lock open. And as soon as I opened the door, I heard a grumbly male voice. Couldn't really make out what it said, but we both heard it and we both looked at each other and we're like, what the hell, man? So,
wow.
and like I said, this is the first time that I ever really investigated. Now, for the last, I would say like 3 years now, we investigate on a weekly basis almost.
I think it's fascinating. Even that one incident, even for the listener out there, if you just had one incident yourself, you have to ask yourself one question: how? How is it possible? I like to debunk a lot of things.
Me too.
I like facts. And I got to be honest with you, up until this day, I'm like, my mind still spins and I try to get logical explanations, scientific explanations, as if, are we doing it? Are we triggering off these EMF detectors? But then when you have recordings and no one's in the room and no one's even in the building and you're getting EVPs, then you have to say to yourself, well, how is that even possible? I think it's amazing it's truly amazing. And that little story you just told me rings true on so many levels of fascinating, unique, because you have to ask yourself,
It's not possible.
What turns on a faucet? What kind of energy can do that?
I mean,
what kind of energy can lift a little dog that has 3-inch legs and put it on a kitchen counter? You're talking about a massive amount of energy for something to do that. And I will say that one thing I've learned in this field, somehow these things know how to do things right in front of you, and you don't see it up until they want you to see it. It's like there's a veil over your eyes, and then abracadabra, there's your dog on the counter. Meanwhile, you're not comprehending it. It's
yeah, I mean, that was so mind-blowing to me. And obviously, like I said, I'm gonna like you said, I'm gonna try to rationalize it, right? I'm like, could the dog have jumped up there? Like, could he have gone in the bathroom, jumped on the toilet, then jumped on the counter, and then knocked the stuff in there? I'm like, yeah. Is it physically possible? Yes, but how would he knock everything into the sink? Maybe one or two things, and then both faucets being on. And I'm, like I said, that blew my mind. And to this day, it's still,
of course.
I've never, now that we're obviously seeking stuff like this now on a regular basis, we do a lot of events, we do capture a lot of activity, a lot of good EVPs. I've got a couple shadow type figures that I've captured, and some different things, but I've never witnessed anything like a poltergeist style activity of that nature since then. That extreme.
Amazing. You said shadow. Is it shadow people that you're capturing, or the outline that looks like something?
Yeah, I mean, so actually we're talking about it tonight on our show. We're doing a show on Savannah, Georgia, and in the Surreal Weed House with a full spectrum camera. It was actually featured on a couple other stuff, like Daryl Marston from Ghost Hunters featured it on his Paranormal Warehouse channel there. And you can see I had a little full spectrum camera with a little tripod, and I set it down where they call Shadow Man Alley, right? It's like downstairs where they used to operate on soldiers, and they did not, I would say their outcome was 50%. 50% of their patients died. And then they actually found like bones of soldiers and stuff in this house. So it's like a very, very haunted, known house in Georgia. And I set the camera down just on the tripod and walked away, and we were doing EVPs and stuff over there. And there was nobody else in this room. And you could see the outline of a person, a shadow, come right down the wall and then dissipate and disappear. And it's in full spectrum. I brightened it up a little bit, but you could find it on all my social media stuff as well. And it's very rare. I would say it's very rare for us to capture visual evidence,
to be moving is, that's very
yeah,
unusual.
This was moving. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of times a photo or something like that, it could be pareidolia, where your mind is programmed to, and you guys know this stuff, right? And your mind is kind of programmed to look at fight or flight and look for faces and different things. So if it'd be awareness, built into the human body, to keep us safe. We're always looking, and it'll pick up things that look like faces and different things. But I have a couple pictures that are very, very surprising. Like could it be a smudge and a dirt on the window with a light reflection? Possibly, but that's why I don't call it like 100%. This is what it is. I say this is unexplained to me.
Yeah, it's there's so many variables to paranormal, and
I think it just ends up with tons of more questions.
I like, I don't need a picture, but I want an EVP behind the picture if possible.
Right.
And then behind the EVP, I want a piece of equipment to go off. And then I want to know if there's no other frequency making go off, like the cable remote that someone's using in the house attached can set off those little lights those lights that you tape to the wall now we're finding out. I like facts, right? Hardcore facts. So if I'm going to sleep with one eye open, I want to make sure that I'm really getting the spooks for a real deal, and it's real. Look, everything is not real, but there's authentic stuff out there that you just have to say to yourself, this is the unexplained.
Exactly. And I would say that's the kind of thing that kind of upsets me sometimes here and there with this, because in this field, like the War Party team is very professional about what we do. And like I said, we also hold events to the public to bring awareness and show people what we do and show people that we're not faking stuff. We do EVP sessions right in front of them. We do everything there. We get them involved. But, I put a video out the other day, like talking about a K2 meter, right? And like just what it does, how it works, and the things that can trigger false positives. And it's a good thing that all these shows are out there and different things, because it's bringing awareness. People, it's less taboo now. It's getting a little bit more mainstream, which is a pro and a con, I feel. Because the con is somebody's like, okay, I'm interested in this. I'm going to grab a K2 meter and I'm going to walk around and I'm going to film it and see what happens, and then, but they don't realize, or they do realize, and they hope that the people watching don't realize, that the phone is giving off a massive amounts of EMF, and it has LiDAR built into the front of it.
Yeah.
If you look at I'm sure you've seen it too, when you have a phone out and you're looking at it with a full spectrum camera, you just see the infrared just blasting out of this thing, and it's just putting, so you're holding it like this, right in front of it, and the phone that you're recording it is setting off the device, so there's little things like that obviously that people can get confused or mixed up or different things, or they just don't know. But we try to really validate everything, and if we're unsure, we send it to one of our teammates. They'll review it deep and look into it and see, and but like you said, it can't be proven 100% at this point. Still pseudoscience, but I've seen stuff that I in my gut, I know that there's something going on.
Oh, most definitely.
Well,
I just want to ask this one important question: is give me the most intelligent response that you believe that the spiritual realm put it to you. Like as if you asked, "Can you see me?" Yes, Mike, I can see what you're doing. You're doing this. Have you ever gotten an intelligent, active, not residual response?
Almost every time, almost, like, because we investigate a lot of the same locations because we do these events. And Eric and I, the team leader, and I were talking the other day, and we were kind of having a discussion that we almost feel like, since we're there so often, that we start to build a connection. Like we start getting our names called out.
Really?
In EVPs. Yeah. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Now, wait, let me ask you a question. These aren't EVPs that you're trying to understand through these spirit boxes, that you're trying to make out what it's saying. Is this a clear EVP?
It's a clear Class A EVP from a recorder. We do use DR60s, which a lot of people are, some people don't like. I feel like that is just another incredible tool, but you have to know how to use it properly. You have to be able to say, that was gargled nonsense, not a scream, not a demon or anything. Like, that was just a gargly, crappy recording. But we do pick up a lot of very good EVPs on them. And we use multiple different kinds of recorders. But yeah, no, all the time. I mean, we have intelligent responses via EVP a lot.
That's amazing.
Well, other than the first experience that you had, what was a traumatic location that you and your team have investigated that you really, maybe scared everybody a little bit? Because, paranormal investigators still get scared. Everybody always says that you guys don't fit.
I would say, it takes a lot for me to really be scared. I get excited, like more like, oh, how did you hear that? Like, that was clear, but I would say, to answer your question, out of all the places that we investigate, and we travel as well and go to different places, and like we went to Waverly and we go all over, and still to this day, I would say that the most frightening is the Devil's Tree in Florida.
Oh.
Actually, yeah, I just had to comment there in the chat. Somebody popped up and said the Devil's Tree. So we went there multiple times, right? And there was it all stems around a serial killer, the Florida's first serial killer. And he was actually a sheriff. And it was in the 70s. And he was picking up hitchhikers and, females 2 at a time. and doing unspeakable things to them out in the woods here. And the tree, there's a lot of urban legend around this tree. A lot of it, I think, is fabricated, but the tree is still there. It's a 150-year-old oak tree. People have tried to burn it down. There's a lot of people that go out there and do satanic worship around it. I actually reached out to author that wrote a couple trees. Wrote a couple books on the tree, and he came out with us, investigated with us, and he knew, knows all the backstory, the whole 9 yards, and he didn't want to tell us. And I said, I don't want to know. I want to come out here and I want to, I just know the basics. And a lot of the EVPs, the responses, the things that we were getting back, he verified and then explained to us after what they meant. And we actually brought a psychic medium with us that has never been to Florida before or this park. And we let her walk and said, you lead us to the tree. Mm-hmm. And she walked and turned and went straight down the path to the tree. And then Keith actually explained to us that isn't really the tree where the killings actually took place. That actually ended up becoming the locals' devil tree where everybody goes. But there's another one down the path, and he knew from having police and detective photos, and he found the tree. And he spent a lot of time out there, metal detectors and all kinds of stuff. So when we went to the actual tree where the killings took place and where the bodies were found, Joe, a good friend of mine, is a sensitive and an empath, and he's kind of learning. He just kind of learned that is the case. And he's still working. He's actually working with April Doucette and kind of honing his craft. But he didn't, when we got to that tree, he's like, I'm not touching that tree. I'm not going next to that tree. And he actually physically got sick and had to walk away. And another time we went out there, we brought another friend of ours that's a medium. And we didn't even tell her what tree it was this time. We walked to the second tree and we said, all right, we're in the area. And she's like, mm-mm. She's like, she literally drew a line in the sand with her foot and said, this is where, if I go past this line, I don't feel good. I don't feel comfortable. I feel sick. And we were like, all right, well, that's the tree right there.
Wow.
I walked up to it, leaned on the sucker, and did an EVP session. And then I did an Estes method on it next to it. And during the Estes method, we got, this is John. And his name was Gerald John Schaefer. Mm. And I asked right after that, and we got like a lot of responses. And there was also an old boys' home back there that they treated the children very badly. And there was probably a lot of deaths there as well. And that's wiped off the Florida records. They don't even tell you about that. There's a bunch of ruins out there. And I reached out to the historical society for that area. And they were like, oh, I don't know.
They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. So we started picking up children's voices out there. Not voices, but like seemed like to be children. And we did hear like a child type voice on the EVP as well. So that place to me is, I would say, probably one of the darkest places that I've been. And I did feel a little uncomfortable. We captured some crazy evidence there as well. And that has the whole spiel. True crime.
Yeah, that's a really sad spot. A lot of history. A lot of sad.
And then you have all the people that are going out there to see it and to intrigued and, by the true crime side of it and everything. And then you have all these people that are doing worshiping and dark rituals. We actually found an altar out there. Somebody made like a handmade altar box with like some symbols and weird stuff on it that I didn't know what it was. I didn't touch it. And there was like an animal inside of it.
Yeah.
So some pretty strange stuff going on out there. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
So you are the creator of the Delco experiment. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. What it is I basically, it's nothing really too crazy. I just think it's something that nobody else thought of before me. Right. So, the Gansfeld experiment, are you guys familiar with that?
No.
Okay. So the Gansfeld experiment was something done in early parapsychology where they would take ping pong balls and cut them in half, put them over your eyes, and they would shine a red light at you. Sorry, I'm hitting my microphone.
Okay.
And I'm Italian. I talk with my hands. And
too.
they would shine the red light into your eyes, so you have full sensory deprivation. You cannot see, and then you would put on headphones, noise isolation headphones, and listen to white noise. And then after about 20 minutes, you would start to get in a different state of mind, and this is how they would test ESP. And then they would hold up cards and test ESP, and the person would just speak and say whatever they're seeing, whatever they're hearing, whatever they're thinking about, and they would see if anything lined up. So what I did, I said that, that's very similar to a Estes method session, where you listen to a spirit box with the head for your listeners too, if they're not sure or unfamiliar with it. You wear noise isolation headphones, you plug a spirit box into it, and you wear a blindfold. And then somebody else is asking questions, and the person that has the gear on can't see or hear, and they're just repeating whatever they hear out of the spirit box. And then you see if it lines up. Now, the Delco is you don't use a blindfold. I made a portable pair of goggles instead of having to carry a light and ping pong balls and all this stuff, where it's made with electroluminescent panels and red.
Cool.
And they light up and solid red or flash. Let me turn my light off here real quick. For get the little green screen showing, but yeah, they're really bright. You can't see through them. It's electroluminescent panel folded, so you have the light on the front and the back, so you can tell if they're on. And there's an extra red lens in there, but you cannot see through these at all, even if you wanted to. There's nothing you can see. You can't see a shadow. You can't see anything. And then this brings you into a different state of deprivation, so all you can see is the red light. And then with the spirit box and the white noise rolling, you start to get into a little bit of a different state of mind. And we've actually had people see shadow figures, see people's faces, see different things. Literally, the last time we were at a little bar that we did an event at, we did this experiment, and Joe was doing it. And at the end of the session, he can't hear or see me, right? And I'm saying, all right, you know what? We're going to head out. We want to thank everybody that was here, that was communicating with us, because we like to be very respectful. We don't do any provoking, anything like that. And we're like, listen, thank you for communicating with us. We're going to go now. We'll come back and visit you. But you can't follow us out of here. You don't have permission. You're going to have to stay where you are, and we'll come back and visit. And if you need help, we'll try to help you. But right now, we're going to head out, and we'll see you again soon. Joe repeats, that's what I hate about being dead. And I was just like in shock. I couldn't believe the response. Yeah, it was insane. And he had no idea we were closing up. He's sitting there like, he's just repeating whatever he hears. So
that's wild.
And Eric did it at the Last Chance Saloon down in the Keys, and he said a name, Cantos, and he said 8 years old, and then these different things, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? What is he talking about? Is this just random? So I looked at the owner of the bar. I'm like, any of this makes sense to you? She goes, well, there was a murder-suicide in the parking lot. A father killed his wife with a zip tie in Miami, was driving down to the Keys, pulled into our parking lot, and took his son's life, his young son that was 8 years old, and then took his own life in the parking lot. And I said, do you know their last name? And she goes, no. So she started Googling it. Last name was Cantos. He said Cantos.
Wow.
I mean, and this is all documented. I'm not telling stories.
Yeah.
It's all on my YouTube. It's on my stuff. It's all there right here. So
that is just crazy.
It's wild. And, we investigate so often that we have a lot of time to try different techniques and do different things and test. And it's wild.
That's fascinating.
Well,
and that'll make you believe in paranormal. That's for sure. 101.
There's if it happened once, okay, maybe, maybe it was a coincidence. I don't know, twice, but to the extent that we're capturing the evidence that we're capturing, and we don't fabricate or exaggerate anything that we do. I mean, it's remarkable. I put it this way: in you guys got to come check out our show because we show video clips and do different things, and it's fun, you know.
Definitely.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't deny it. There's no way.
It's amazing. Now, this piece of equipment that you came out with, you sell this as well?
I haven't yet. I've been working on different prototypes, and I finally got it to the where I have it where I want it, and it's like perfect. And then I was going to make them and sell them, you know, for not a profit. You know, I actually have a couple videos on how to make a portal, you know, for under $100 because, you know, they're selling them online for like $700 and things like that. I show a video how to make one for. I'm a technician by trade.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, to answer your question, I will be selling them at cost for people so they could try them. I've given a few away. I've done some giveaways and gave some away to other teams and some other people, and they've had some really surprising results as well. But the part that I need, the electroluminescent panels, are on back order everywhere because they come from overseas and, you know, with the whole supply chain deal. So, but as soon as I can get my hands on more, I will be making more.
You should definitely take that up because people would definitely be interested in that. We would.
Yeah, definitely.
We live in a haunted location, so we would definitely be interested.
Yeah, I've looked into your story a little bit and just read some kind of cliff notes and browsed through some stuff. Yeah, I would love to get them over to you and see what happens. I can make you a pair and send them over for sure.
It's definitely,
that would be awesome.
It's definitely a very strange.
If you don't live so far away, I'd say
haunted.
hop on over here.
Yeah. It's different type of haunt.
And you know, one thing about me, like I'm in New York, I'm Italian. I debunk everything. I don't care. I never take anybody's word for anything. Period. I don't care who you
me
are.
neither.
But when toys go off by themselves and there's no batteries, and I say to myself,
Really?
I go, uh-oh, there's a problem now. Now there's a problem because that's impossible. And you know, so we deal with things that, you know, I can't explain, you know. That's why we had 52 paranormal teams come here within the last 7 years, because I don't believe one team, I don't believe another. So I have a thick head. So I got to prove to myself that we're kind of screwed in this house, you know, in one sense, that this is a bad place.
And then people say to you, you know, why don't you move? It's not always so easy to move. And I think that's something that people just don't get. It's not always that easy. I talk with my hands too. And you know, it isn't. It's not easy. And then whatever's here will keep targeting things to make you stay longer.
Oh yeah.
You know,
you know what? One thing about haunted locations, they know how to call on you and families. Like, you know, you come here. They know. You know, look, we're investigating the paranormal. Well, what do you think they're doing with us, the other side? They're way ahead of us. They're like, come on. They throw out the fishing line and reel us into their location. I have seen people, and again, I debunk a lot of stuff, but I've seen people getting taken over, oppression, and it's frightening to see something like that. It's really scary, and you know, they're remote view. They're like remote. They're like robotic. There's nothing to them. They get very cold, very, very cold.
Their personalities change. That's what I was trying to say. It's kind of like more of a mind manipulating haunting than anything else, because you can see like the nicest person walk in and then they'll
want to beat you up 10 minutes later.
Their whole demeanor changes.
And you know what you're saying has related to some of the stuff that we witnessed at the Devil Tree.
Really,
the Keith, the guy, that the author, right? He told me that same thing. He said his buddy that goes out there with him is like the nicest. He's a big guy, but he's like the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And he's like, one time we were out there and his whole tone changed. He got all crazy and was like getting argumentative with him and getting like, he could tell something happened. And you know, it's, so I have heard of that. And you know, we see some stuff doing residentials and different things as well. But yeah, no, have you guys tried to figure out what exactly is going on there? If it's an elemental, is it dark? Is it
we've had
is it human?
We recently had
an ESPR.
Well, that was 2 years ago. Then we had Paraflex, one of the teams there. Then we had True Ghost Stories. You can't identify something that doesn't want to be identified. It's multiple things, and it's like I guess like a shapeshifter. It can change form and just make you think it is what it is, and then to the next team it's something else. It knows how to do that from a child, from an innocent looking child through the photographs, to something that looks very evil. So it knows how to play the game.
And it also knows how to hide. It will hide. It's like, we've had mediums come here and say, well, something's hiding. They're hiding. And the evil stuff will be hiding from them.
When the priest was here a few years ago from the church, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Well, no, there was no blinking bulbs. Yeah. Nothing happened. And then 3 hours later come shadows. And look, I tell the listener out there and any paranormal team, for the time that we're still living here, which hopefully won't be that much longer, because I don't know how much longer I can handle living here. If you want to investigate this house, the Horsefly Chronicles home, you just message us. We're open.
So what state are you guys in right now?
Pennsylvania.
We're in Pennsylvania. We're like right near New Jersey, though. So it's like borderline, Easton and New Jersey.
Well, yeah, we'll have to get up there one time and see if we can kind of try to figure out what's going on. Like I said, there's a lot of teams out there. I'm just pretty confident with us. Obviously, I work with these guys on a daily basis, and guys and girls. And I know that if whatever we report, and if we can get in there and possibly do a proper, investigation where we could do like a little prelim, and then have a couple different times where we could do a little bit of investigating. I feel pretty confident we can come up with something, see what's happening. Like I said, that's the nice thing about working with this team is, I'm a techie guy, right? Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the devices, and I'm looking at the science of it. And if I'm not, but we also have people that I do trust that do have, that can feel stuff, that can see stuff, that could tell what's going on, psychic mediums and things like that. Like when we normally do a residential, we won't talk with the psychic medium that we're working with about the case at all. And we have a very detailed list that we go through: medications, this, that, the other thing, and we keep everything confidential. But we do full background, like through everything to rule out certain things. Obviously you don't want to go over to a house and you think you're going to be doing an investigation, and you show up there and you're like the party, entertainment. There's a bunch of people drinking beers like, hey, the paranormal guys are here. So we have to rule out all that stuff. But we don't tell anything to the psychic medium when we're talking about our report or anything that we're doing. We get there, we sit outside, hang out, we let her go into the house or in around surrounding areas. They walk around, they come back, they take a little time for themselves, and they come over to us and do a little debriefing and tell us what they felt where, and then we'll see if we can get similar type responses using the equipment. And I feel like that we do it so often that we become like open, we get responses. Like it's wild,
it's definitely amazing, and we like what you do. And I like, my wife was showing me some of the TikTok videos that you made.
Really, that was a question I had. So you definitely debunk a lot of stuff on
That's
TikTok.
Good.
Now, do you find like yourself kind of like just like laughing it off, or does it like actually like get you mad?
Depends on what I'm looking at. Like some of it is so blatantly, obviously fake that I just kind of laugh it off, and I go, people just trying to get. But I also understand, right? Because as human nature, we like watching scary movies. We like doing that stuff. Yeah. We want that thrill, that little bit of adrenaline that you get, right, from watching these things and doing this stuff. So when people hop on TikTok, I understand it's for entertainment a lot of times. I get frustrated when I see people that are calling themselves paranormal investigators or paranormal researchers and they're not doing certain things properly. Then I'll get a little frustrated. Or if I know somebody is faking something and they're trying, because that's what taints our field, right? That's why people don't take us so seriously sometimes.
That's true.
So that does upset me a little bit, but I mean, I'm not going to say anything or do anything. I'm going to be professional about it and be like, oh, okay. But because what we do, we take it very, very seriously. We live, breathe, and eat this stuff. You know what I mean? So
real. This is real. This is not play. It's not a
we
joke.
take it serious too because we live it. But not only that, I don't like when people fake things for that fluff and for views and for entertainment, because the normal family who's going through a problem, and it may be few and far between, but they may be going through an authentic haunting and they need help. And then you have people making up all this other fabrication. It only hurts that family more because no one takes the family serious. They don't believe in it. I don't like that. I like hardcore facts. And look, I tell people paranormal investigating can be the most boring thing in the entire world. It's like putting one fish in a lake and keep throwing out the reel. Hopefully you're going to get that fish, which is the ghost, right?
What's funny is I do say that a lot. Like I say it's like fishing. Right.
Yeah.
Because, we do events. So we have to explain that to people. Like, listen, this is not going to be, we're not going to walk in there and we're going to see like ghosts flying around and they're not going to like,
no.
You know what I mean? Like because some of these people have never seen or heard about any of this stuff in their life. They've seen the thing on TV. They saw it's cool. They want to come out. So, we have to explain to them, and a lot of these were people or are people, so sometimes if they don't want to be bothered, they're going to go, we go over here, they go over there. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we're not going to get as much evidence or evidence or responses, but sometimes we do a lot, but we got to explain to people it's not on cue.
It's not on cue. And
and
when you capture stuff, I first debunk it, and then I try to get the facts behind it, try to give some logical explanation. And if there isn't one, like a toy going off with no batteries in it, then unless somebody can prove something to me that I don't know, it's paranormal.
That's actually on our website.
I don't know of anything that could do that. That's for sure.
Yeah, we have
and that to me, I want to say this to the listener, even yourself. Heart to heart, I'm telling you straight out, and the listener, that I didn't believe in this crap. I'm going to tell you straight out, none of this paranormal. I wasn't a believer in it. The movies are great and all that stuff, but I wasn't sold on it because there's so much entertainment and fluff. But when you see with the visual eye a lightning bolt of energy that's a few inches long floating through the air and making things happen, and you think it's an optical illusion or a hallucination or the eyes, and then things start to trigger off in a home, you have to ask yourself, if that is possible, then anything is possible.
Yeah.
So we're getting what you're doing, your work, and what we live is a scratch on the surface.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Of what we really know. And people, don't take some of these. You want to be an investigator, go with caution, because I have seen personally a lot of death, tragedies, horrific crimes, from oppression to possession. And I try to say coincidence, but one too many times I've seen people getting taken over. So it's taught me something. Respect the other side as if you respect your best friend and your parent, because you don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're walking into, and you don't know what's coming home with you. And guess what? We wear a watch. Look, on that side, there is no watch. We don't know when and how it's going to come after us or affect us.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's another thing too, for anybody that's listening, there's kind of rules of thumb that we kind of live by too. We recommend you don't investigate your own home.
Sure.
Obviously you guys have a little bit of a different situation. But we recommend that you don't investigate your own home. Actually, one of our
well, I would agree with that. I guess sometimes it gets hard not to. I mean,
I agree.
What you're saying is true.
It's like the other side knows how to like bring you into their world.
So the theory that I have on it, right, is this: if people are scared of Ouija boards because of they're taboo and they're spooky and they're and it's been something that we've always heard about as kids, right? Doing an EVP session and holding a recorder in your hand and asking somebody to communicate with you or anything. It doesn't even have to be a device. Like I'm looking at this soda can and I say, hey, listen, if you're here, can you move this can? Anything that you do that with, you are opening yourself up for communication and to whatever is around, because there's stuff around us all everywhere, right?
Yes.
So when you do that, it's the same as playing with a Ouija board in a way, right? You're opening communication. Your intention is to communicate with spirit. And if you have that ability, you know, all people have that, they say, right? It's just kind of like brainwashed out of you. But it's the same thing. So if you're doing this and you're constantly saying like, all right, you know, and try to communicate with stuff and do this and that, what happens is and this is my theory and stuff that we've put together through different investigations. And you know, the theory is that if you do that and you become more open, you almost shine like a beacon, right? So say, you know, you're sleeping, whatever, they can tell, right? In the other world, they can tell like, all right, you know what? Those people can hear and see me if I go over there because they've opened themselves up. I'm going over there and I want to talk to them. So that's kind of what we figured out was happening with our buddy. He was hearing voices in his house. He was having equipment go off. He was you name it, you know, all the haunting stuff, right? And you know, he had to start to learn how to shut himself down. Like, listen, I'm not communicating with you. I'm trying to sleep. It's my relaxing time, and shut himself down. But that's what happens when you investigate your home, even if you don't know it. Like people that think that this is fun and they want to play around and they want to get a K2 meter off Amazon and play with it in their house. It's not a good idea, you know, because it might something in the house might be fine. It might be nothing evil or dark, but then you start broadcasting that you're trying to communicate and other stuff comes.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. Unfortunately, we learned the hard way.
For me, that the house kind of blocks me. I mean, it doesn't block everybody else, but it blocks me. It's like you get so numb to it that I don't even, you know, it's a
lot of mental trickery.
Like
it's a lot of mental.
I mean, when you're living with stuff like that, you know, it's kind of like us, like as we're investigating, you know, we do it so often, we know what precautions to take. We do it. It doesn't really affect me per se, but it'll affect one of my team members, you know, like that. Like I feel comfortable. Like I'll walk in like somewhere somebody says there's evil stuff, demonic stuff, whatever. It doesn't bother me, and I kind of have that like safety blanket that I know if something did happen, I have people on the team that know, you know, bishops and that are that can do cleansings and do all that stuff. So I kind of have that in my back pocket as like a little security thing. But you know, it affects everybody differently, right?
It does, and that's another interesting fact.
It does.
I know you have another show coming on in like 5 minutes, but before we let you go, we want to thank you for coming on Horsefly Chronicles Radio. We definitely want to do a sequel. We definitely want to capture your show. Tell people all the good stuff, like where they can find you, your show, and everything.
What do you have coming up next?
Yeah, absolutely. So tonight, right in about 5 minutes here, I'm going to be jumping over to the Party Paranormal show. We're going to be joined with Joe, the fellow I was just talking about, and Franny. She has a YouTube channel, Supernatural Eye. She's also on our team. We're going to be talking about Savannah, Georgia. We have a show every Monday night, 9:00 Eastern Standard Time, and we talk about our investigations and show video evidence and EVPs and clips and different things that we've captured. All my other social media you can find right here at FLA-paranormalresearcher.com. That's my website, and I have blog and links to all my stuff. And you can see some of the stuff that we discussed about tonight on there as well. That's the easiest way. And I'll definitely, when I hop over to my show, I'll tell them that I came from here and how interesting and awesome you guys were to talk to.
Thank you.
Yeah, I actually have a couple people in their chat here that kind of came over from the show to check it out for sure.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hey, before we let you go, let's give our listener words of wisdom in the paranormal. Let them hear it, Mike.
Honesty. Be honest. Because when, you know, the boy who cries wolf, everybody knows that story, right? Mm-hmm. This stuff is real. It can affect you. Be careful and be honest.
I like that.
I like that. Thank you, Mike, so much.
Thank you.
People, you definitely want to capture his show. And one day he will come out with those device there.
Mm-hmm.
The Delco goggles, yeah.
And
I'll get with you guys after the show later on down the road here, and we'll chat, and I'll get you guys a pair. I want to see how that goes.
That would be amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Great having you on. You have a lot of knowledge, And a person like yourself can help people out there, learn what they're going through and how to deal with it.
Absolutely, and that's our goal. And War Party Paranormal is a nonprofit organization. We will never charge a dime. Everything that we put out there is, with our name on it. And oops, wrong side. And we have a reputation to keep up, and we want to help people, and we stay with them, our clients, till the end. They can call us anytime. It's not like we're going to go in there and spray some Ghost Be Gone and leave. It's a process. We have to come in, we'll do this, and there's going to be homework. There's going to be stuff that you're going to have to do that we'll let you guys know what to do, or different people, and they'll have to do that, and we'll follow up with them, and then we'll come back and do investigation and do a cleansing and then do different things. It's a big process. It's not like a one night thing. But yeah, we're here to help. And if you need to find us, you can go to warpartyparanormal.com, and we're happy to help. And that's what we do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for coming
so
on.
much. I really appreciate you guys, and maybe we'll have to get you guys on our show here soon.
Awesome. Definitely. Definitely. A lot of knowledge. A lot of knowledge. To the listener out there, please share the show. There's a lot of knowledge in tonight's show. And that's what we're about, getting facts, getting hardcore information from people like Mike and other guests. And we combine this. And even though it's not exact science, we do know that paranormal phenomenon does exist. And there is another side to us.
I do believe that in the upcoming years, as technology advances, we will be able to nail down something soon and make it science.
I agree.
Very good. Definitely.
I agree.
But thank you very much, guys. I gotta hop over there. I hate to do it.
Most definitely, Mike. Thank you so much.
Have a great
night. Again, guys, and thank you for all your guys' listeners, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Everyone, go on to Mike's show as well. 9 o'clock, that's hitting.
Special thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show. We love them. Thank you. And join us again next Monday night, same time, 8 EST on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. So have a great night, everybody. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. And really quick, everyone, you can see some of the evidence from the Horsefly Chronicles house. If you go to my page, Facebook, Philip Syracusa, there's a website now that was just put up. And on that website, it'll show you evidence and things that paranormal teams have captured in the Horsefly Chronicles home. Anyone who's interested, who is an investigator and seasoned in the field, you can message myself or Julia through Facebook if you're interested in coming down. Other than that, everyone have a safe, great night, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you. Good night.